Welcome to another episode of Soccerheads New England. I'm Dave Rattigan, and I'm here on this podcast because this is my equipment. Dale Lawrence is our engineer, and he's here because he knows how to run the equipment. Paul Nardizzi and Jim Ruberti are here because they are soccer experts, and what a disappointment that's been. Anyway, three of us are comedians, and both of these two are diehard fans on multiple levels of soccer. Both have coached at various levels. They played in college. However, we should mention that they were college players back in the days when they'd play in loincloths. Paul was a forward, and he was fearless. Jim was a goalkeeper, and he only feared penalty shots and a cold breeze under the loincloth. Check us out at soccerheadsnewengland.com. We've got a Facebook page, or you can email us at soccerheadsnewengland@gmail.com. If you enjoy it, please share.
Of course they enjoy it. I mean, what's not to enjoy?
All right, we appreciate
with imagery like
this.
The breeze under his loincloth. How can they not enjoy it?
Hey, we've got Shalrie Joseph here today. He's calling in where he's going to be here. He's a legend in the Revolution.
Who got him? Was that Dale again?
Huh?
Dale got him?
One of my connections. I got connections all over the world, Dave. You'll see. You'll see.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that. We're going to be talking about the slap heard round the world at the Academy Awards later in the show, and we're also going to talk about Paul's going to bring us some stories. So, do you have a story for us?
I think that is the story today.
That is the story.
Slap.
So we're not going to do the.
And I'll relate it to soccer. You know how I always wrap things around things that aren't supposed to be wrapped around. You'll see. I'll link it.
You do always wrap stuff
I'll
around things that aren't supposed to be wrapped around.
You'll see.
Yeah, that's the
Involves
kind of clear thinking that we appreciate.
Coming at you hard.
I'm just still upset about the loincloth. I can't imagine what size I'd need today.
All right, moving on. First, before we get to Shalrie and the rest of the show, plugs. Soccerheads New England is sponsored by financial advisor Rick Spencer. Here's the number, 978-857-7573. Have Rick come speak at a free seminar for your club, youth league, or just people in the general public. He'll help get your kid into college, athlete or not. Rick is also my financial advisor, and because of Rick, I bathe in unicorn milk. To have Rick come speak to your club, team, league, or group, check out one of his free seminars. Call him, 978-857-7573. Also, if your organization needs to raise money and you want to have a great time doing it, you should have a Soccerheads Comedy Night. It's more than a comedy show. It's an event that your community will never forget. We've got soccer-themed humor and giveaways and extras. If you want to have a great time and make a lot of money, email Jim Ruberti at soccerheadsnewengland@gmail.com. Those are the plugs, and we've got Shalrie right on the line right now.
Sweet.
And Shalrie, thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, guys. It's been a great opportunity to be on your podcast, and I'm looking forward to catching up and just having some laugh and enjoying the time.
Yeah, that's the first time anyone's ever said they're happy to be on the podcast. Paul's got a question for you, Shalrie. And by the way, Shalrie, I think we can say that you probably had a lot of career highlights, and I'm guessing coaching against Paul Nardizzi was probably tops.
Way up there, right?
Yeah, let's say top 10. I like top 10.
Did you even know you had coached against him?
No, only when they start mentioning it.
That's okay. I get the same thing when people go to my shows. So my first question, Shalrie, is not a soccer question. I think we'll start with comedy, and then we'll get to the nitty-gritty. So I just wanted to ask you who some of your favorite comedians are, and we won't be offended if you don't mention us, okay? In fact, my wife uses my comedy CDs to make the kitchen table level. So do you like comedy, and who are some of your favorite comedians out there?
Maybe I can use some of the CDs for my snoo, because I'm using like tuna cans.
Absolutely.
But right now, I like Kevin Hart, Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle. Those are the guys I really would like stay at home and watch.
Do you ever listen? I'm sorry. Do you ever listen to Chris Rock and think, "Oh, I'd like to get up there and punch him in the face"?
No, I never thought I'd see that happening. So no, I think comedians, you have to give them their leeway.
Thank you. Yes.
The world's way too serious. There's too many things going on in the world. We can't afford to have a laugh here and there, especially not that at the expense of other people, but just have a laugh and enjoy life. Then what's the point of it sometimes?
Listen, we wish more people thought the way you think. Let me ask you this. One of the key, this is an actual career question, but I think one of the keys to success as an athlete is finding a good fit. And by that, I mean for every level. You want to fit competitively, financially, if you're a professional, or, at the right school, if you're a college player, and also personally as a place to live and people you like to be around and things like that. In soccer, that often means leaving your family and your friends behind and going to a new country. And did you find that fit here?
Yeah, I did. Right off bat. I think coming to New York when I was just 9 years old, going on 10 years old, and then I came in the wintertime and it was snowing. And for me, I love the snow right off the bat.
Really?
Yeah.
You realize that's not a typical response to people when they come up here and they deal with snow and cold.
I know. I still have I have friends that come to Boston and visit, and they complain about how cold it is. Till this day, we still have people like Bruce is still complaining about how cold it is. And it snowed this morning, so I can only imagine his reaction when he woke up and he saw a little bit of snow flurries on the ground. But for me, I always love the snow. I love the change of season. I love Boston. I think that's why when I was happy that they drafted me, and then I've continued to live here even after my soccer career was over, and now I've gotten an opportunity to work with the first team and the academy, and I love being in Boston. I think I'll hopefully retire here, and I had a kid now 3 weeks now, so I'm continuing my family, and hopefully I spend my entire time here.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to the kid. Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you have a boy or a girl?
Yeah, a boy.
Ah.
A boy, I named him Shalrie, so.
That's good. Are you planning on having a bunch of kids and naming them all Shalrie, like George Foreman did?
Yeah, you're going to have the Shalrie grill going with the kids?
No, maybe 2 or 3. That's a little excessive with the Shalrie, the third and the fourth and the fifth.
Well, you should have 11. You should have 11. You'll have your whole team. You'll be good to go.
I joke about it. I need a basketball team, but financially I can afford it, and 2 or 3 is good enough for me.
Yeah, that's you want to maintain your mental health. Here's the other thing from a competitive standpoint. Obviously, you played in the MLS. You were great in the MLS. Where did you think you'd wind up when you were a young soccer player?
Honestly, he's probably just scared of trouble. I was a very troublesome kid growing up. Obviously, I've been fortunate enough that I had great people in my life that steered me away from all that trouble and distraction. I was in soccer, so for me, it was always, can I make it as a pro? And I always wanted to play professional soccer. I just didn't realize what it would take. And once I understand the commitment and what it would take, it was just trying to motivate myself and having people around me, like I said, and getting the right opportunity. And once I got that opportunity, take advantage of it. And I was lucky enough to go to St. John's and then being seen by some coaches and agents. And then it was just putting in that hard work and grinding to achieve my dreams.
You played next to Larentowicz, who's another one of my favorite players. So would you say, like at the time, they always said you were a defensive mid, but were you more of what is today an 8, where you went forward and Larentowicz stayed behind you?
That's a very good comparison, especially in his first couple of years. He was definitely the more defensive in the two of us, and I was able to be more of a box-to-box player. But it was a pleasure playing with Jeff coming into the league. Off the field, he was one of the smartest players I've known, but on the field, he just worked hard, and he always had you back, and he would never shy away from getting in a tackle or confrontation or physical, whatever it is. He was up for the challenge, and you see how great his career turned out. So that's the kind of person he was from day one.
I read yesterday that they were saying that like the 6, sort of the game comes to you, but the 8, you have to find the game, which is really hard to do, isn't it? I mean, you have to know when to go forward, when to stay back and help him. That's got to be difficult.
Yeah, there's a lot more towards that position, the 8. With the 6, the 6 have become even better and more challenging in terms of you not just have to win ball or sit there, but you have to be able to connect a lot of the things offensively and defensively. But with the 8, you definitely have to go find the game, and sometimes the game is on the outside of the 18. Sometimes the game is on the defensive side. Sometimes the game is getting forward and getting your head in the box or providing numbers. But with the 8, it's all about your fitness. Not all about it, but fitness is a huge component of being a positionally number 8. And where it sticks as in you have to be very mindful and be a very smart and intellectual player to be able to connect offensively and defensively be the block in front of your back 4 or back 3, whichever you prefer defensively, I guess.
Shalrie, I'm sitting here and I've got Jim Ruberti on one side and Paul Nardizzi on the other. So I've got to ask you this question: do you think that there are too many Italians in soccer?
Apparently, not enough in Italy since they can't make the World
I
Cup.
know.
Oh.
It's a terrible time to ask that question, isn't it?
You just put that on a tee for him. What did you guys talk before the podcast?
We worked it out last night. We were planning it all out on Facebook.
There's 14 less Italians in the World Cup this year.
I can't believe Italy has made the World Cup. Were you drinking all night then, trying to get over your pain?
No, that would be Ireland. we probably overate, would be my guess.
We had a tough week, Shalrie, with the Italy and then the Revs getting knocked out of CONCACAF. We were struggling.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Trust me, I know the feeling. We didn't perform as well as we should in the away venue, but that's things we got to learn. We got to learn and take it on the chin and try to be better.
So I got a quick question for you.
Again.
I got a question for you about that CONCACAF because, you go in with literally a 5-0 advantage, right? Or 4-0 advantage to that game. My old theory was, you want to play defensively. Or you want to play aggressively, right? You want to get that other goal and make it even more impossible to come, for them to come back. What kind of was your strategy going in there? And did we understand you guys flew in on the same day for that game?
No, we went 2 days before. The preparations were good for the game. We didn't fly in the same day of the game.
Okay,
so the preparations was good for it. We got there in time. I think the players didn't do as well as we wanted them. And tactically, we got it wrong as a coaching staff. And Bruce would probably be the first one to say that he took all the blame for that. Tactically, we didn't prepare our players to be successful, and we got to do a better job of that on the day. And at the end of the day, players play the game, but coaches have to be able to provide the tactical solutions and answers for when you're losing the game, and we weren't able to do that. So we got to learn from it as a staff and learn from it as players, which they do. And then try to move on from there and understand that we still have a whole MLS season ahead of us.
You almost owed me a television set. I'm just letting you know. I was going to send you a bill. Would have been a lot because it's a small TV. Because my wife relegates me to the small TV. But I like you, was extremely frustrated.
Yeah,
We were very frustrated. Go ahead.
Yeah, I bet you were. I was going to say, Jim was talking about the small TV. They can only fit a small TV in the doghouse. So what is it like coaching with Bruce Arena? I mean, is he, it's funny because from a distance, he seems like, and we're used to Belichick, so he seems like a Belichick type, like somebody who publicly always seems to be kind of intense and maybe, let's say intense.
No, he's the opposite. Obviously, I can't speak on Bill and his demeanor and the person he is, but Bruce is amazing. He's an amazing person to work with off the field. He's no better person to have a drink with, to talk football, to talk anything in life with and talk to about. But on the field, he's a player's coach. He understands players' mentality, he understands how to push their button, he understands how to get the best from them. And last year, you see what he's done. The last 2 years, you see what he's done with the Revs and the changes he has made and the rebuilding and turning this organization into a winning organization again and getting the most points within the league. So he's an unbelievable person, but tactically, he's probably the best person throughout the history of the game, especially in the U.S. system. So it's been a pleasure working with him. I hope every day I get that opportunity going forward to continue to work and learn from him and be around him, because I've been fortunate enough to be able to get great knowledge from someone who has been in the game so long.
Yeah, I know I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit with this one. It's sort of a job interview question, but if you were going to say one thing you've really learned from Arena that you think is maybe the most important thing you've learned or the most surprising thing you've learned, what would that be?
Listening to your players. I mean, there's not one thing I can put my finger on right now, but one of the things he understands is how to listen to his players, and he has a great feel of knowing when players need certain things, when players need a pull or a push, or when players need a kick up the whole ass, some things like that. He really understands players' mentality, and that's something you learn over years of experience. And that's the things that I want to learn and be able to do, is understand players' mentality. Even though I was a player myself, it's different when you're a coach now. You really got to understand what they need and what days they need more running and what days they need more touches on the ball, little things like that. He has a great feel for those things.
Yeah, I got one more question for you, Shalrie, before we turn it over to Paul. Is your goal eventually? I mean, one of the things that I've heard from other coaches, specifically, we had a coach here named Terry O'Reilly who coached the Boston Bruins, and he was a great player, but he said that it got frustrating sometimes as a coach because he couldn't, as a player, he could affect the outcome on the field, but he couldn't when he was a coach. So I guess it's a twofold question. One is your goal to be a head coach at this point, and do you get that where you just feel a little frustration that you can't get out there on the pitch and do it for them?
Yeah, oh yeah, I do. I do get frustrated with things that are happening that I can control, and I've learned that. And I need to just take a step back and be able to affect it in other ways. Obviously, I would love to be the one getting the ball and scoring goals and making the passes, but that's gone, and those days are gone far ahead of me. So now I have to understand how can I affect it. But it is frustrating as a coach because I understand the level I played. I understand what I brought to the game. And when you can't affect it like that, no, you just have to be smart about the way you translate your information and the way you talk to players. But yeah, I definitely want to be a coach in this league. I want to be able to coach New England Revolution, to be specific and to be honest about it. At some point in my coaching career, that will be the next step that I would love to take. Because I've done the academy, I'm still doing the academy U17, even though I'm first team coach. So I spend my time working on my craft, that part of it, and then I'm still working with the first team. But eventually, that's the goal, is to become a head coach within the league. And obviously, this is where I love being. This is where I love living and playing when I was a professional soccer player. And now, at some point, I would look forward to the opportunity of becoming the head coach here. But I'm in no rush. I'm in a great position. I'm learning from some of the best coaches around the league, some of the best coaches I ever played the game in, Richie Williams, Dave Vandenberg, Kevin Hitchcock, and some of those guys, they're teaching me the game even more and more. So I'm looking forward to that day when it comes. But right now, it's just I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn from each and every player, each and every coach that's around me.
Well, now that we've reminded you, you can add it to will you add it to your coaching resume that, once beat Paul Nardizzi in a U17 game?
Oh yeah, I'll put it in bold print too.
Shalrie, I was always a big fan of your signature move, and I actually tried to show Dave before the podcast, and I knocked his hip out of whack. So it's called, they call it a cushion 180, but the thing where you fake to the ball and you kind of peel away and bring it around with you. Did that just sort of happen organically, or was that something that coach showed you when you were young and you said, I'm going to make this my move? Like, how did that originate?
I think it just happened organically. I was able to practice a lot of things on my own, and I love just going out and dribbling or juggling on my own. So some of the things I try, it was just from me being out in the park, or we played in the streets in Brooklyn when I was 11, 12, going to high school there. So we was able to play on concrete, and some of those things just come out because it was really physical playing on concrete. So I was able to try those things, but luckily it came off when I got older, and it stuck with me.
It worked. It worked all the time, literally.
Oh, thanks.
So when you look around the league now, who are some of your maybe 2 or 3 favorite defensive mids or eights that are in the MLS now?
Well, I love Matty Polster. I'm going to have to be a little bit biased here.
Oh, of course.
Think he's one of those guys that we don't give him enough credit within the league, but he's very, very good. Chara out in Portland.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, he's so smart. Technically, he never loses the ball, sees things, 2, 3 things ahead of it. What is that? I love the kid in New York FC. They have some of the best players there. I love them, Acevedo and Spalding. Those guys are really good, but the Sixers are really good. But my favorite player right now to watch is Carlos. Carlos Gill is probably my favorite player.
Me too. Yeah. It's a blast, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a blast. We've been blessed with one of the best throughout the league or in the history of the league right now.
He's great, but did Paul ask you for the 2 best middies in the league, and you mentioned both guys from the Revolution? Is that what I heard?
Yes, he did. They might be listening to this, Dave.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Those guys, we are blessed to have some of the best players within the league, and that's why we got 73 points last year, is because we have unbelievable players right now. And it's a shame sometimes when we show up to the game and we don't see the fan support because they're missing out on some of the best players. But those are the things that really frustrate me, that we don't get the support that we have for the other pro teams around here. But hopefully with another good season, the people will start coming back more and more and more and watch those great players we have on our team.
Sure. I'll be there Saturday. I go to a lot of games. So I hate to bring this one up, Shalrie. I hate to, but 2 of the most painful games as a New England person are the Giants' undefeated Super Bowl loss and the Houston MLS Finals. So I'm going to take you back here. I got to ask.
Yes, sir.
Because when I was watching it, I was a coach at the time, and I always tell my team that a lot of goals are scored right after you score because you're celebrating and you sort of lose your focus for a minute.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you had to do it over again, do you think maybe that would have helped? You guys just got back to half and said, let's make sure we don't score? Or was it just a fluky thing that happened?
Nah, I think we lost our concentration. We
Yeah.
were so excited. We were so ecstatic. We had that feeling of ecstasy just going there in the MLS finals, and we weren't able to hang on to it. But if we can go back in time, we would be shouting after we scored that goal the next 5 minutes, which is what I do to my academy team. The focus and concentration has to be heightened, so we don't give up anything within the 5 minutes that we just scored. And if we were able to not give up something, then probably the outcome would have been different. But we was just a little overjoyed. You can see from the celebration, Taylor made a full lap around the field after he scored.
He did. You're right.
So it's a feeling that joy, that ecstasy of scoring a goal in any game, and much less MLS Cup Finals. We was just really, really happy and excited for that moment.
So I have a quick one too. So when I was in Grenada and I saw you score your only goal for your national team, no, I wasn't in Grenada, but I had to ask you about it. Seriously, what it has to be an incredible feeling to play for your home country and your national team. And I know you played for a couple of years there and you scored a goal and you actually ended up going back and coaching. And what's that like? Seriously, that had to be incredible.
Yeah. There's no words you can really use to describe it. It's an incredible feeling. It's unbelievable. You get the opportunity to be a player and you get to play for your country. It's not too many people can say that. And then to get to coach them into a Gold Cup appearance, that's something that will go down as one of the highlights of my coaching career, playing career, to be able to play for your country and then coach your country. There's not too many people, especially within the Caribbean, who had that opportunity to do something like that. So I'm grateful for that. My mother always tell me I take things too easily. I don't understand the moment, but that's one of the things that I'm really grateful for.
Yeah, I mean, looking at your career, that had to be a huge highlight. And you're doing the same thing here, if you think about it. You played for the Revs. Now you're coaching the Revs. Great career you have.
It is. I understand my calling. I'm not great at all the things I do, but I know what I'm destined to become or destined to do. And this is one of the things I've been fortunate enough, and I'm happy for the place I am in my life. So I'm really grateful for it.
And I tell that to these guys all the time. My calling is buffets now that I stopped playing soccer, and it really shows. So I'm really good at it now.
Yeah.
Fogo de Chao? Your calling is Fogo de Chao?
It's going to eat. Correct.
Yeah.
It's
He took one of those strength finder tests. And they said, "What am I good at?" And they said, we found one thing after 5 hours of testing.
seconds and thirds.
Shalrie, you brought it up. You just brought this up. What aren't you good at?
Seriously, we're starting to get pissed. To be honest with you, we're starting to get pissed.
There's a list. I'm working on it. There's a list.
We're gonna have your wife on the next podcast, and those are the things we're gonna go over. Is what he's not good at.
Yeah, he doesn't change the baby enough.
Yeah. I haven't changed his pampers yet, but I'm always around it when she's changing, and I just hand it to her, and she's like, "Okay, at least you're taking steps to change it." And I'm like, nah. That's the closest I'm getting.
I had a system, Shalrie, where I would just put, one diaper over another one. Just easier. So, my mother would hold the baby and say, "He's heavy. Is his diaper wet?" And I'd say, "Some of them are, yeah."
He does that with himself now too, Shalrie.
As he's getting older. Well, he doesn't want to miss the game.
Fair enough.
Just in case there's extra time.
So, Shalrie, I'm a huge MLS fan. I probably watch more MLS than most of my soccer friends. I just love the league. So, back when you played, give me 2 or 3 guys that when you went out in the field, you went like, "Oh, I got to be on my game today because I'm facing this guy, he's really good defensively," or "I have to mark this guy, he's really good dribbler." Which guys sort of gave you trouble?
One person that I always look forward to, and I always look forward to every game day and practice was the things I love about our sport. I love about sports in general. You get to do the things you love, and you get to play sport you love, but do the things you love. Every day I was excited and I look forward to it. Once it was game day, I was excited about it. It didn't matter who it was. It didn't matter what team we were playing. I was superly excited to play soccer. But players like Landon Donovan, he brought out the best in me. and it was always LA. So whenever we played him, early days in San Jose, there was always a huge crowd, a huge following. So I know that game was one of the biggest games for our team. So I look forward to that opponent, that matchup.
Yeah.
The New York Red Bulls back in the days, the Metro Stars. Those was fun because my family would always be there. They would always come to the New York rivalry game. Whether it's in New York or in Boston, it was always a drive up for them. So they would always be there. So that's another game I look forward to. And then players that I had friendship within the league, like Eddie Johnson, Corey Gibbs, those guys on the West Coast. When we went there, I look forward to playing against them and then just kicking their butt and then rubbing it in and letting them know how good our team was or how good I was. And then if we won, it was definitely a night of celebration and they would have to pick up the tab. So it was always fun to play against your opponent, but fun to play against your friends even more.
It is fun. So you go out after the game and have a meal or something, and then they'd have to pay if you won?
Yeah, I don't know if there was eating involved, but it was definitely going on.
I didn't think there was eating involved unless they were appetizers.
Quick bite.
You're a dual citizen, right?
Yes, I am.
And you became a U.S. citizen in 2009, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So you've been around for a while, or you've been in the country for a while. Why'd you become a dual citizen? And I don't know what's it like.
Honestly, it's nothing different because Grenada is a small island and there's not much going on there other than you can go relax, vacation, and great place to go party. I learned that when I was a coach. Great carnival spirit. The people are so positive, great energy. You'll never know there's anything bad going on in the world outside of Grenada because everyone is just full of great energy, looking forward to just enjoying the day, and everyone parties and enjoy themselves.
So what he's telling you, Dave, is when this country goes to hell, he's on his way to Grenada.
I'm following.
All of a sudden, I want a citizenship for Grenada too.
Yeah, Grenada would never take you.
I heard you can tell jokes in Grenada when they don't slap you.
Yeah,
perfect place.
I'm just concerned there's not enough food there.
There's enough beers. You'll be all right there. There's enough beers and people party and people work hard. That's how life is down there. They enjoy the family life, but they definitely love the party and the fete. And then in the morning, they get up. Even if we go till 4 or 5 in the morning, you'll see everyone out to work at 7, 8, working just as hard as they party. So
something
it's like Beverly, but different.
No, you know what it's like? It's like I lived in Florida when I was 17, and we used to work at a golf course, and we'd come in from drinking the night before, and we'd show up for work the next morning without sleeping.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So how about being a U.S. citizen? Do they make you like study for the test and name like U.S. presidents and stuff like that?
Yep. I definitely had to study. Once I realized I got my green card for 5 years, and then my mom applied and did all the paperwork and all that stuff. It was just a matter of studying American history and understanding. They're going to ask you 10 questions, and you got to be able to answer them. But when I did my exam, it's kind of funny because the person that asked me the question, they know who I was based on my career, and they loved soccer back then too.
Yeah.
So they just asked me 5 simple questions, probably 5 of the easiest questions.
No. If you looked around this table here, I'm thinking none of these people here could answer the questions you answered, to be honest.
What he's saying is they asked him questions like they said, who is Taylor Twellman?
Who is Taylor Twellman?
How many laps did he run around the field after the Houston final? Oh, I know that one.
No, it was good, though. I was glad. So that was the only, not the disappointing part, because you study so hard and you want to be ready to make sure you pass because you don't want to go through it again. And I was ready for it no matter what question. And then she gave me 5 of the easiest questions. She was like, good luck and thank you again. And thank you for your choice in sports and who you play for. And I was like, yeah, I'm grateful for this place and the opportunity to play soccer. And she was like, I know you answered them correctly, so you'll be American citizen.
Well, hey, listen. So thank you. We're thrilled to have you. Let's put it that way.
Do you remember any of the questions? Any of the 5 easy questions?
No, I don't remember. I know it was like the Bill of Rights was one of them, and who was the current president, and it was very simple. But either way, I was like, I'm ready to go.
Yeah,
I
you
was
could
ready
have.
for any question.
Well, we're happy to have you, mainly because you were a New England Revolution. But if you were playing in Seattle, we would have tried to get you to fail the test, right, Paul?
Well, he did actually play in Seattle, which was going to be my next question. Is you played? I mean, Arena's an MLS all-time great coach, and you played for. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but Sigi Schmid. He won a title, and that must have been quite an experience too, right?
Yeah, it was. Ziggy Smith, yeah, he's now the second time most winningest coach. Bruce just passed him a couple of weeks ago to become the all-time winningest coach. But I was in Seattle for a year, and I got to work under Ziggy as a player, and he was unbelievable. He knew the game from top to bottom, and great person to have another conversation about soccer, about life. But he was an unbelievable person, and may his soul rest in peace. But he was very good to me when I got to Seattle, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. I got to meet him and talk soccer and talk life to him and about him, and he's an unbelievable person.
Question about you had mentioned earlier in the conversation about, I think you had said you'd growing the sport, growing the team's fan base in New England. You know, people come on, they talk about these guys are always going on about building a new place, building a new arena. Yeah. Frankly, I like it being able to show up and I like it probably for the reasons that nobody likes is I like it because it never sells out. It's easy to get a ticket. You drive in there. You've got a big parking lot to park in. You can play with your kids and kick a soccer ball around in the parking lot and all the things that probably other people aren't wild about. Everyone wants a 40,000 seat? Is that what we're looking at? 40,000, 30,000 seat theater stadium in an urban area. I mean, what do you think it would take for people to develop a larger fan base in New England?
I think a stadium would help. That's probably my biggest thing. I understand all the things you just mentioned, and those are all positive. When you think about it and you look at it from that perspective, we see how important it is to have that big parking lot. Because when you come in before game day, you see family, you see parents, you see kids playing soccer, small-sided on the concrete, and it's such a wonderful atmosphere that they try to create at Gillette. But I think if we can have something, I'm not sure exactly the location, you'll even draw more of a crowd. You'll have more of a huge fan base. And you'll still be able to get tickets because I think they'll put it 30,000, 40,000, whatever it is. You'll still be able to get tickets to come to the game, and the atmosphere that they'll create within the new stadium, I think you'll love it still, no matter where it is. I do understand all the positive you see within the Foxborough community. I'm behind the game at Gillette Stadium right now. I definitely love all the positive, and I love that people still come out no matter what. Even in the snow 2.5 weeks ago, you can see the fan support, and people are out there when it's snowing and blizzard, and that's just Boston. People love our sports town, and I love being here, and that's one of the reasons I think we'll win the championship within the next year, if not this year for sure.
One of the reasons Dave likes it when it's not sold out is it reminds him of his comedy shows. So
he likes room for his people to walk around.
That's just mean. That's just mean. I like the way.
When is the next show?
We will let you know, Shalrie. I got your number. I'll text you where we're going to be. It'd be great to see you at a show.
Yeah, definitely.
Listen, thank you so much for coming on. I do have one final question, but I wanted to thank you for coming on. You ready for your final question, Shalrie?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Sure. Could you please recite the preamble to the Declaration of Independence?
No pressure.
Well, you can be wrong because we wouldn't know.
Yeah, we wouldn't know.
I'll call back once I know the entirety of it. But thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Shalrie.
Good luck Saturday.
Thanks again.
Good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
That was Shalrie Joseph, and he was good. He's good.
The real deal, huh?
Deal.
I can't believe how proud it's so good that we were able to bring that moment back when his team played your team and was it U17?
14-ish, 15-ish.
14-ish.
Yeah, he coached circles around me.
Well, no, what was really good is we got a little story there, though, that he really wants to coach the New England Revolution when it's his time.
I believe what he said was that he planned on poisoning Bruce Arena's milk.
Unicorn milk or regular milk?
I don't know. He didn't ask me for any, so I'm glad that we finally got him on the show. And I'm glad
he proved my theory all along, though. I always felt like they shouldn't have celebrated. And I was wondering what a player would think. He was down there for it, and it was just, you lose focus. Remember, it was 3 finals in a row they had not scored. So not only are they psyched that they're up 1-0, but they finally scored, and your emotions take over. Houston scores right after.
You know, there's nothing worse than counting your chickens before they hatch.
Yeah.
This relates to another sport, but I was an Atlanta Falcons fan for the longest time, and one year they were in the Super Bowl and they were ahead 28-3, and I said, they've got it now. There's no way that this team can stay on the field with them. Let's turn our attention to something else, and this is a comedy thing more than a soccer thing, but you know, as a coach, you guys were both coaches. I'm sure you've slapped your share of players and officials and parents in your time. But we saw, I just can't get over this. Jim let me know about this last night and sent me the clip at the Academy Awards. Chris Rock makes a very mild joke about Will Smith or Jada Pinkett Smith. She's Will Smith's wife, but she's a public figure unto her, you know, as well. And she's got a podcast or something, and she's got movie credits and all this stuff, and she's had a very successful career herself. She's a public person. And he made a joke about her alopecia and the fact that her hair, she's bald. And she cut the hair off herself. She made a public announcement about it. She said she had the alopecia, and she cut it because she didn't want to be hiding it anymore, and that she chose to laugh about it rather than cry. And then he makes this G.I. Jane joke, which is a really mild joke. And Will Smith is laughing at first because you've got to laugh when they insult you. And then suddenly off he goes, and he snaps, and he comes up on stage and slapped the comedian.
Pretty hard.
I mean,
Chris kept his feet. I was surprised. He could have been easily knocked. A lot of people would have been knocked over by that.
You know something? I've been hit in the face before, and it doesn't. Not every hard punch knocks you over. If it did, Dale's every one of Dale's boxing matches would have been over in the first 30 seconds.
On me losing.
Well, I mean, you got to be able to take a punch. I mean, you've hit people, right?
Yeah,
you hit people hard.
He took a good punch. He didn't even flinch. Chris Rock didn't even flinch.
Yeah, finally, we're into something he cares about.
He didn't even flinch.
Finally,
I love it.
We're into something he cares about, which is hitting people. But yeah, this is the thing. And I read this stuff on social media. On the one hand, I don't know, is it people are like, it's good. It's good Will Smith beat him. And then the other side is like, we can't allow people to attack our comedians. And I know, Paul, we're working together this weekend, and I've got to go up at the start of the show and say, tell everybody, you know, no matter what he says, don't punch him.
Why me? Why not you?
I don't know. All right, fine. Don't punch me.
It was a very awkward moment. I nitpick stuff, so the issues that I have with it are nitpicky, but I'm tired of the destruction of the English language.
Okay.
It bothers me. Get my wife's name out your mouth.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to the word of?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a 2-letter word. I mean, I'm not asking much. Can you just put it in between the two connecting words?
That was something that struck me as well, is that his grammar. If you're gonna get up and assault somebody in front of millions of people on television,
thank you.
You've got to be able to enunciate.
Yes, and then he said, "Get my wife's name out your mouth." That's exactly what he did. It was in his mouth, and you heard it because it came out of his mouth.
Yeah.
What he should have said is, suck my wife's name back into your mouth. That would have been more accurate.
Yeah. Turn back time and stop saying that.
Yeah. And then I just had an issue, too. Dale, you're a cop. You walk on stage, which is in and of itself a surprise. You go to sporting events, you can't walk on the field. He's allowed to walk on stage, slap, and then walk back and watch the rest of the show.
Yeah, that's bizarre. However, the crime there was a simple assault, just a simple assault and battery.
It's just simple.
Simple. Well, you know,
assault.
actually in Massachusetts, it's a simple assault and battery.
Simple
I'm sure in LA it's nothing. But ultimately, and I read this before the podcast, that Chris Rock was the victim, but he didn't want to press charges.
Right.
So if there's no charges being pressed, Jim, have at it, brother. Do whatever the hell you want. If no one wants to be a victim of a crime, then
can I press charges for
no,
watching
you can't.
it?
No,
because the way I looked at it.
So the LA cops had no legal jurisdiction to arrest anyone other than maybe a disturbing the peace. But then again, the people who were running the Oscars would have had to have asked them to do that.
They didn't even walk him out of the arena.
Well,
that's what I mean. No one even went up and talked.
I was the only one who watched this thing from the beginning to the end. Mm-hmm. And the biggest assault was watching it from the beginning to the
previous
end.
To that was all.
I should be able to file a criminal complaint by watching that thing from the beginning to the end. You're talking about the English language, and one of the hosts was Wanda Sykes. That defeats all English language problems you have. And by the way, if you looked at the height differential between Will Smith and Chris Rock, that almost was child abuse.
Well, 4 inches.
I just can't believe security didn't. The only people that stopped by to talk to him were his manager, his trainer, and his cut man. Yeah. No one else even had anything to say to this guy.
His publicist. He was all over his publicist.
Yeah.
She was telling him what to do. And the only other person was Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
Told him, did you hear the quote of Denzel Washington was, "When you get to the top is when the devil shows up."
Yes.
Well, that was one, but then I also heard that Denzel Washington said, put your hand into a fist, you'll do more damage.
Can I interject something?
Sure.
So I've been here, how many podcasts, like for 26 podcasts, and you make fun of me like I don't do anything, and I have no purpose in the podcast.
You do things. You do things.
You didn't kill Putin, for God's sake.
You hit the button, and then you fall asleep.
Well, Dave, I was within inches of Putin for about 6 months when I lived in Moscow, once a week.
Yep.
And do you not think that I didn't have a connection at the Oscars last night? Because I did.
You did?
I had someone who was very close to Will Smith. And when he got off stage, like Paul said, he had a conversation with someone. And this person that I know recorded the conversation.
So this is a person you know.
Absolutely.
Who was at the Oscars.
Was at the Oscars.
And they talked to Will Smith.
Man, what the hell was that? Were you trying to hit him? Or were you swatting the beef from his face? He stood there laughing at you. What kind of hit was that? I told you, you gotta swing the hips. You gotta hook that right if you wanna hit some power. We got Amy Schumer presenting next. I wanna see a hook launch across the stage, aight?
You go, Dave. My connection has come through. 26 weeks on this podcast have paid off tonight.
That's finally you've gone against the grain.
And that might be funnier than Zone 14 4 weeks ago. That was, wow.
Zone 14 won't be nearly as funny to you two when you leave puberty. Here's the thing about it, though, is that just the whole thing of him getting up and walking up, and you could see Chris Rock like looking at him, like seeing him come at him with malice. And I kept, this will show my age, but I kept waiting for Mike Curtis to come over and knock him into next week. I know.
Did you ever see Sidney Poitier get up and smack Richard Pryor for a joke?
No.
This is where we've come as a country. This is where society is beginning to fall apart.
Oh, it's going to be horrible now. Because I got to tell you, with all the people who are defending this act, and with Chris Rock not filing charges, it's going to be open season on comedians. Yeah. I don't see you two making it through the year.
I'd be lucky to make it through this podcast without Dale hitting me.
Yeah.
So my theory, I have a lot of theories, as we know. None of them have been proven. But the world revolves around what?
Sex?
No, you're close. Begins with an S. We talk about it all the time.
The world revolves around
soccer.
Of course. I'm sorry.
And our podcast is gaining listeners.
Yes.
So if you follow the bouncing ball.
Yep.
Last week, Jim Ruberti made fun of my short haircut.
Yes, he did.
Called me a Brussels sprout.
He called you a Brussels sprout.
Will Smith was listening.
Yeah.
He said, I'm going to go on national TV and send a subtle message to Jim that these insults are not acceptable.
Yeah.
So what does he do? He gets a seat right near the stage.
Yeah.
And he waits for the perfect moment. A bald joke.
Oh.
And then he goes up and he slaps Chris Rock, basically to say to Jim, don't fuck with us. Don't fuck with us.
Is that what this was all about?
Because it wasn't as funny as the Brussels sprout joke.
So you're saying then, listen, as the owner of a chia pet, I objected to your Brussels sprout joke. So you're saying that, in fact, Will Smith was not defending his wife. He was defending you.
He was defending Americans, insults, inoffensive. Yeah, we need to get back to just basic fart noises for jokes. No more harsh jokes. No more insulting people.
I know that would be a lot easier for you two to follow.
I think I could get 45 minutes out of one of those fart machines.
Absolutely.
So, Jim, did you get the message?
I did.
Did you get it loud?
I got it loud and clear now. The one I was confused about is you said what the world revolves around, and I said sex, and you said close, soccer. And I'm just trying to figure out how that's close.
Well,
I'm still zone 4.
In fact, I can prove that it's linked to Jim, because you know what else was subtle about it?
What's that?
It took 7 seconds for him to walk up there. It took 1 second for him to slap that man.
Yep.
And another 7 to walk back.
Yeah.
And is Jim not linked to the number 15 if you add all those numbers together?
That's
Isn't he?
Funny. I was thinking, you know what it was like? Wrong. It was like he was like a penalty kick. He just walked up and he struck.
It was easy, yeah.
And he struck and it was easy. Yeah. And he walked back.
Oh boy, I hate all of you.
Well,
this was you know what? It was great to have Shalrie on. That was a great job, Dale, getting him
Thank
to
you,
come in.
Dale.
Yeah,
thanks,
again. My reach.
Classy guy. Classy guy.
Never stops.
Your reach is all the way across the country at this point. It's all the way to California. It's impressive.
You know something? This is like that Peter Sellers movie with Chance the Gardener being there.
It's Chauncey the Gardener, and that's who Joe Biden is.
Oh man,
I'm so glad we
Make fun
straightened.
of Dale, and you're going to bring in Joe
I'm
Biden.
so glad we straightened Dave out before we started recording, because otherwise, as you know, he was going to call him Shalrie Joseph. So
Charlie.
luckily, we straightened that out.
Shalrie and I.
So can I call you Chuck?
We call
know
you Chuck.
I was talking to Shalrie last night. He was, Facebook, and he was sending me stuff, and we're talking about the interview, and I cannot tell you how many times I had to say Nardizzi, Paul Nardizzi. It was Paul Nardizzi, and he said, I once coached a kid named Nardizzi, and and I'm like, who? He goes, I don't remember. I don't know.
You know what would be interesting, though, is keep an eye on, so the Revs Academy plays in a tough league against other MLS academies. Pay close attention to that U17 team that he's coaching. I wouldn't be surprised if, they have 4 teams and they have a U14, 15. Watch his team.
Well, you know what? If we get to interview him again, I think that's a question that we were remiss to ask, is some of the players on that team who he sees as potential New England Revolution players, or
who we're going to forget about. We're going to forget about by the time by the time they become pros.
No.
I take notes.
You take notes?
Copious.
Do you remember the name of Nick Woodruff's player? He's his agent. He mentioned him, and he played in the Real Salt Lake game. He went on the field, played the whole game. Do you remember?
Not only do I
Spalding.
not know, but I don't care.
Really?
I don't care.
I figured Dave was going to say Nutsy the squirrel, to be honest with you.
It's Nazi.
I
keep telling you.
Nazis. All right. Are we done?
I think we're done.
We're done?
Yeah.
We done? That's it for this episode of Soccerheads New England. We'll be back next week. We'd like to thank financial advisor Rick Spencer, our sponsor. Call him at 978-857-7573. And soon you too will live like Jim Ruberti, the only person I know with his very own henchman. Because with inflation, dirty tricks no longer come dirt cheap. Anyway, don't forget, for fundraising, the Soccerheads Comedy Night for your soccer team, league, club, or whatever, the Soccerheads will make your fundraiser more than a show. We'll make it a great fundraising experience. So for Dale Lawrence, our engineer, Paul Nardizzi and Jim Ruberti, our soccer experts, and Dave Rattigan, who owns the equipment, this has been Soccerheads New England. Thanks for listening. Please share us. And we're at soccerheads.com. We're on Facebook. We're everywhere. And our email is soccerheadsnewengland@gmail.com. Thanks very much.